Rich, Manfit TV, aka Me TV, aka Baskets Over Bullets. And you know what, as of late, it's been the opposite around here. That's right, in these local basketball courts, and I don't understand what's going on. I want to start off today with a small update about that basketball court I was telling you about, where they took away half the basketball court and left the other half there. All week, I should say last week, because it's Monday today. So all last week, I was up my cabbage, all right? All different types of hours of the day last week, knocking on that door, that indoor part, so that I can find out, if anyone can give me any answers. Knocking on it, hopefully someone would answer. But guess what? No one answered. What time do these people, what time are they there? Because as far as I'm concerned, if you go to like Cohox or you go to St. Anne's or like I said, Sion, they're there from the beginning to the morning, all right, near the end at night. But I go to my cabbage and there's no one there. What's going on here? All right, all I need is 2 questions answered. I'm not looking to argue or anything like that. I just want to know why the half of the basketball court was taken down and if you're planning on putting up another one. That's it. That's all I'm asking. But it seems like I can't even get those answers. Now, last time I talked about this, one of you guys said that, you play soccer in the indoor parts. So if you can get in contact with one of those people before I do, please let me know what's going on. That's all I'm asking. That's it. Because seriously, in order to get something done here, we have to act on it. That's it. All right? And it's funny because every time I try to act on something, and do something positive for the neighborhood, somebody wants to come around calling me a fraud. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But understand this, all right? I talked to a lot of basketball players yesterday while I was out, all right? And a number of them said that, well, if worse comes to worse, we can always go to our community rep. Now, for those who don't know, in Port Richmond, the community rep is John Taylor. I have a little bone to pick with John Taylor, okay? John Taylor has been the community rep for a minute. We're talking years, all right? I have never, ever seen John Taylor in the neighborhood, whether it's a block party or a community function or come out to a basketball tournament that's always being held there just to say, hey, to show his face, I support you. I have never seen this guy. I have called his offices plenty of times before in the past. No answer. I have emailed him. No answer. What is the problem? This dude seems like he's a ghost. I don't get it. But I'll put it like this. I cannot rely on John Taylor. All right? All I'm doing is going to ask these 2 questions. Like I said, for the people in my cabbage, I have to get in contact with them. Hell, this even last week when at night I was going by and the lights were on, but no one was there. Not at all. You know what? This week, I'll prove that. I'll go down to there at night and take a picture of the lights being on and nobody being there. I'll put it on Twitter for you so you can see what I'm talking about. All right? But also understand, people, that if this keeps going, we're not going to have anything. Now, I'll put it like this. Because of everything that's going on, I'm thinking about putting together a tournament myself. Once again, we'll try to put again another tournament. Now, last time I tried to put together a tournament was with the cops versus the community, so that the police officers, because for y'all saw before when I was showing you outside, I was talking to police officers, they don't think that the ballers are really good. And I was like, well, when you gonna come out and play? And they was like, oh, no. And that's the thing. In order for all this violence to stop these cops stopping random people and they think that people look suspicious, this is a good way to get them into the communities, and it was a good way to get them to know people. So when they're patrolling during the day or night, hey, I played basketball with that guy, I got to know that guy. He's someone who's part of the neighborhood. You don't have to worry about him. You get what I'm saying? So you don't have to worry about suspicious activity or a suspicious looking person. You don't have to worry about this. This eliminates that problem. But then after the Puerto Rican Day Parade, when that guy punched that woman in her face, and mind you, he got his job back not too long ago, yeah, it just fell apart. So this is what I'm thinking of doing. I'm going to talk to a number of block captains, not all of them, because there's some ignorant-ass block captains down in Port Richmond. There's a lot of them. But those who are reliable, I will talk to them. I will talk to a number of members in the community who run the functions. I will talk to down at Lehigh and Aramingo, all right, Sion, because those people are actually more reliable. They actually hold a lot of tournaments during the summer for basketball. So if anybody, I would have to go talk to them. Since one of you had asked me, and it was kind of not like a revelation, but it was kind of like one part was BSing, the other part was a lot of truth to it. One of you asked me how I can keep trying to do this for people in the neighborhood. Because you say that, there's times I say I don't care about things and then say, and then try to help as many people as possible. You have to understand, when I say I don't care, it means I don't care about the people who act like idiots. I'm not trying to help people who don't help themselves. That's what it comes down to. That's why when you see gaming videos, I say, yeah, you know what, I don't want nothing to do with them. Yeah, because they're acting like idiots. They cannot be saved. I'm not worried about them. But the people who do deserve it, yeah, I'm going to help them till I can, as much as I can. That's what it comes down to. Because they deserve it, not the idiots. However, when it comes to Parks and Rec, because you said, why should they clean up this stuff? Why is it the city's responsibility? Because they are funded for that. So they should clean it up. They should do their jobs. They have the funding. You don't sit on your ass and, you know what I mean, and just sit on the money. You can't do that. All right? Especially now that you're removing courts. What are you getting at here? What's going on? You're taking one of the biggest spots to play basketball in Port Richmond, and you're taking it away from players. And I want to talk about this, like I said, because we have seen as of late what is going on when it comes to kids and being bored. And for those who don't know, Chris Lane, last week we talked about this a little bit on Twitter and on Facebook. Chris Lane, rising star, baseball star, was killed by 3 teenagers because they were simply bored. No malice, nothing else like that, because they were bored. And we talked about this about a month ago, because they wanted to get rid of basketball courts and things like that. And I spoke about it. I said, what? You want to charge out the ass for education so that people are in debt, right? So that deters people from not wanting to get an education. Then you take away the activities from people in their neighborhoods, such as taking away basketball courts and things of that nature. And what does that do? What does that leave people with? It leaves them with violence. And the same thing, if you try to play video games, what happens? They say video games create killers. Do they not? So what are you supposed to do? You play sports, the news reports, and I've done a video on this before, the news reports that the injuries and concussions that happen in sports. So there's always a danger to something that you should be doing activity-wise. Now they're taking away the activities, they're taking away the education, what leaves you with what? People turning to crime. But they have money for prisons. They are setting you up to fail. That's simple. But yet, I'm wrong for bringing this to light. I don't get it. So yeah, Chris Lane was killed for no reason. All right, minding his business, killed for no reason because kids were bored. And at this point, it is time for companies and athletes and things like this to step up. And you know what? We're starting to see slightly, because as we all know, when companies step up and do things, we know there's an agenda only for them involved. They don't give a damn about the communities. They don't, because if they did, they'd be doing it more often. Okay, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, Nike started doing laser soccer fields on city streets. Now, before I get on Nike and question them, I have to say that this is an ingenious idea. My question is, why isn't this done more often? I don't understand how Nike can put millions of dollars into these athletes, all right? But they don't put millions of dollars into the neighborhoods these athletes come from, these local places they come from. Because let's be honest here, without you knowing certain athletes, you wouldn't know who they were if it wasn't for these local places. So Nike, what is going on here? Now, I contacted Nike a number of years ago on these situations before I even had a YouTube channel, all right? And I was just brushed off, it was nothing to it. If I bring it to the public now, then you'll just say, I'm crying. But what you fail to realize that if we didn't have problems, there wouldn't be reasons for me to do the videos. Now, would it? But understand that this is something that is a very serious issue. And as far as I'm concerned, when people say, well, you know, you can do things on your own, you can put paint down on the grounds for, for basketball courts and nets and things. Yes, we could do those things. You can paint lines on the grounds for all you want. But when you have bad substance and foundation, there's a problem. Basketball players should not be, now put it like this, here's the court, right? And it just does a dip like that and keeps going. Yeah, there's a problem. You can roll an ankle. You can fracture an ankle. I know people who have gotten hurt and have sued the city for that. And then they gotta wait 5-6 years later just to get their settlement. And then afterwards, gotta go to rehabilitation and all this type of stuff. Understand, Parks and Rec are not doing their jobs. Players for years have painted lines on grounds. We've put nets up. We've straightened out rims or bought new rims. But guess what? When it comes to the foundation of the ground and say the backboards that got holes in them and carrying on, we can't do any of that. That is a Parks and Rec thing. They have the money. There's no excuse. You want us to be responsible for ourselves. You have to mean it's at least 50-50. Wear and tear is going to happen. But it seems like people don't understand that. And it's sad. But I do want to move on because, like I said, when it comes to athletes, I don't understand how you can keep promoting these athletes and not giving anything back. Like I said, these companies, they have the means and the power to do so, but they don't want to unless it benefits them as well. And that's what it comes down to. It also goes for media too. Because tell me, why is Tim Tebow still being celebrated? I don't understand this. Now, for anybody who has seen Tim Tebow as of late, all right, if you've been watching the preseason games with the Pats, why is this dude still on the team? Why wasn't he cut? Anyone else would have been cut. How do you play one game in preseason? That one game, he threw for -1 yards. How is this possible? Seriously. And a lot of people making excuses. Well, he didn't have his playmakers out there and things. No. He is not competing for a #1 spot. If you really think Tim Tebow is competing with Tom Brady, you are crazy. He is competing for a second slot, for a backup slot. All right, he can't even do that. Anyone who saw that one game, the receiver's going down the field. What does he do? Overthrows the receiver by at least 20 yards and throws it right to the safety. It's like he was literally pointing at the safety and saying, hey, you can catch this. That's what he was doing, it seems. There's no reason why Tim Tebow should be on the Patriots. And I put it like this. If he gets cut by the Patriots, you can consider his NFL career over. And I say this because people love to talk about Bill Belichick and how genius he is and how great he is. If the genius himself can't help Tim Tebow, nobody else in the NFL is going to take a risk unless he's willing to play a different position. That's what it comes to. There's even, I'll put in the link in the info bar, even some writer wrote that Tim Tebow is not fit for the NFL, the CFL, or even Arena League football. That's right. On the Bleacher Report, somebody wrote that. It's like, that's crazy. Like, you have to understand, I don't understand the overall love and hype for Tim Tebow. And to show you what I mean, when I went out on Saturday night, this is what was on somebody's car. Look at all this Tim Tebow stuff. Matter of fact, look at all the stickers on the car itself. Now, I would like to point out this person is about peace and love. As you see, Bob Marley is on the top right, but then doesn't break for Mets fans, okay? But then at the bottom right, it says, save a life, adopt a dog. I don't understand how you can be a Yankees fan and then a Broncos fan and have all this, I hate Peyton Manning, but I love Tim Tebow. Peyton Manning will always be a better quarterback than Tim Tebow, okay? I'm just putting it out there, but you know it's the truth. Okay, now I do want to move on, and I want to talk about the Eagles real quick because Eagles fans have been pretty upset as of late with the preseason game that happened on Saturday. Defense is still a problem, and a lot of people were saying that they hope that the defense pretty much the offensive line really pancakes Jason Babin. It's funny that they come up and say this because when I went to Modell's on Sunday afternoon after basketball, this is exactly what Eagles fans, or should I say retailers, think of Jason Babin, because this is how much he was actually worth. Speaking of player worth, I do want to start this 1-2 punch real quick, all right? And for those who I'm talking about, ESPN not too long ago came out and said that they're going to walk away from the NFL documentary about players and concussions, right? And the NFL came out and said that they didn't apply any pressure whatsoever, which, if you ask me, is a lie, and I'll explain. Because today, if you watch ESPN, they were quick to push the documentary on RG3's comeback from injury, where RG3 said himself, there's a chance that I may not play ever again. So let me get this straight. You'll document RG3's comeback, but the many players from years and years ago that have suffered concussions, as we just seen not too long ago, Kevin Cole may be done for his career too, all right? Suffered from concussions and have never recovered in real life. And they have no way of being able to deal with this or cope with it. And their families have no way of dealing with it either. So if you don't believe me, you can ask Jim McMahon right now how he feels. But you know what? He probably wouldn't be able to tell you because he doesn't remember a damn thing. See, this is the problem we have right now. So ESPN, NFL, are you going to tell me it's okay to highlight RG3 because he's the hot thing right now, but not all those players who gave their blood, sweat, tears, body, sacrificed their families to play a sport for you to get bigger? Of course, for them to get paid as well, but you weren't, some of these players who were hurt, they didn't get paid anything really. They paid peanuts. So you're going to tell me that you're not going to let that go? And you're going to walk away, ESPN, from something that's very important if this is about player worth, since your entire network relies on players? Are you really going to sit here and do this? This is sad. I also want to talk about another player's worth, which, if you ask me, doesn't have any at this point. One NBA's Chris Paul. And we're going to talk about this right now, okay? Now, Chris Paul, for those who don't know, I'll put the link in the info bar. He is the new NBA Players Association's president. He has been newly elected. And now that he's the president, he wants to stop players from being tested for HGH. So it's number one, we'll stop right there. HGH. You know what that does, Chris Paul? You just put a target on the NBA. And I talked about this not too long ago. What I say, we all knew that baseball had steroids in it. I'm waiting to see what the NBA has, who players are in the NBA who's cheating. We saw Derrick Rose come out not too long ago, a year ago or so, and say 80% of the NBA, they're on something. And then when that writer wrote that piece, Derrick Rose backtracked, was like, oh, I didn't say that. Now Chris Paul is trying to get the NBA to stop testing for HGH. Obviously, there's a problem in the NBA, all right? So you already put a big target on your back already, your back, and on the NBA's back. That's number one. Then number two, you say you want to get rid of flopping fines. Really, Chris Paul? I wonder why he wants to do that. Maybe because he's one of the worst floppers in the NBA.
And Jason Thompson has it.
Obviously, very good basketball player doing a little acting.
Like I said, not worth a damn thing anymore, because I put it like this. If you have to flop to win games, whether it's Chris Paul, because I used to consider him one of the best point guards in the NBA. Now that you have to do this to win, I don't care about you. It's the same way where I get on Tony Parker. When people scream Tony Parker's name, I don't care. He flops to win. LeBron James flops to win. Dwayne Wade flops to win. It is an infectious problem in the NBA. And if this is what you have to do to win, then I don't respect you because you don't respect the sport. Bottom line. Okay? Now I will put it like this. Chris Paul, instead of you worrying about HGH and flopping fines, because let's be honest here, people, if you don't do these things, then you have nothing to worry about, right? Right? Okay then. Now I'll put it like this. Instead of worrying about those things, why don't you have the NBA cares? Because we all know NBA really doesn't care. All right, and bring them into communities and show them. Go down into bad communities, poor communities. Because guess what? That's your demographic. That's where most of you athletes come from. You come from nothing up to something, which should be applauded, but understand that's where the demographic is. All right? And I also understand when people are out there playing basketball, they're not worried about the NBA times. You want to know why? Because they're too busy trying to get their game up while the rest of these people are sitting around eating food and watching the game. So understand that a good amount of your demographic needs help. For you to be the NBA's Players Association president, why aren't you taking care of real issues? Because the things that you're doing, it just looks like you're complaining to the rest of us. That's all it looks like. You're picking fights for no reason. There's not changes. This is not going to help anyone but yourself and keep bastardizing the sport that many of us love. That's what you're doing. Chris Paul, you should be ashamed of yourself. You really should. Now, I used to be a fan. Not anymore after this. I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all be safe. I'm out.